So you talk about Muhammad Ali. We talked about Parkinson's disease that day.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, I contacted a Parkinson's agency in Kentucky, and that person was able to connect.
That was the call-in person.
That was the call-in person. So it depends on the current events, what's going on. So I'm carefully, sometimes I have to change the format of a show because of something what's going on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, due to all the negativities going around the world, we've had to change the format of the show a little bit. So I kind of cater it to the current events, but keep the format in place and the integrity of the program.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to make it really successful, is that you're timely. I think a show has to be timely. You know, if you're talking about something like pet rescue, while Muhammad Ali has just died and there's Parkinson's disease to be considered, it's just not going to work. So I like that you do that. Now, how long have you been doing the show?
Well, the show is, and August 27th will be 3 years. 3 years for the show. So
I'm doing this one 4.
Okay, so we're right on the same page there.
So have you found that in the beginning you had to really try to find people, and now people are finding you?
Yeah, at the beginning I was asking my friends to come on, and different people that I knew, and then all of a sudden it just, I don't know when it happened, but it just took off. And now I have guests planned for months in advance. And sometimes, again, I have to change it up a little bit because of current events and stuff. But because now I have the 2 shows, which will probably increase in September, October, once we expand through York College. So I'm eager to continue this journey of radio and media. And appearing in your show is another aspect of getting my voice out there.
Yes.
But providing a platform for others so that they can join our love train.
Yeah, that was basically why I did this show. I mean, of course, it's good for me because I'm on every show. In the beginning, I wasn't. I had a different host, and I was very happy to have a different host. I was very happy to press the buttons in the control room.
Right.
And then she said she didn't want to do it anymore, and then I tried to get some of the people on my team to do the hosting, and it just never worked out. So I ended up doing the hosting job, and I've grown to really like it. In the beginning, I was, how am I going to do a half an hour of questions? But really, it flies by.
Right. Well, I admire the work that you do as an author too. You're advocating for other authors too.
Yeah.
But to be behind the scenes too, produce a show. I'm with you with your challenges.
It's planning. It's planning all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, my motivation for being an author really grew out of my regular profession too, which was to be an educator, and I wanted to produce books for kids that were educational but fun.
Right.
Because I discovered in my many years of teaching that if you make it fun, they learn.
Right.
And sometimes I rail against the idea that everything has to be fun, but if you make enough of it fun, they'll do the work too. And so have you learned anything significant from the authors?
I always learn something. Every author that I have on, especially the historians that could bring me back in time about an era that I might have known about, or the college students or the kids, excuse me, that it's an educational piece. So when I listen to an author speak about his or her book, it kind of takes me away, and you can actually relive what they're going through their expression in their book. So I learn each and every time I'm with an author, and even today, you have another guest coming on. I learned from him just by the little things that he's been sharing, and that motivates me because it shows me that if I'm learning, then there's other people that are learning as well.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you include authors and allow them to tell their stories, because many people will say to me, because I was a teacher for so long, how come the kids don't know this, and this? And especially now, because the elections are going on and the campaigns, you realize how there's a deficit in what people know about how the government works and what the history of the United States is. And people will say, well, what do they teach in school? They don't teach this anymore. And I have to say to them, visit a school, and you'll see if you go into a social studies class, all of this is taught, and it's taught in a very innovative way. However, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
And that's really, to me, the importance of having a show where there used to be a TV show for kids, the Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
Right.
And they always had that little Mr. History. He was Mr. Peabody.
Yes.
And Mr. Peabody would do a little bit of history, and that to me is the greatest thing, is because, again, you have to keep it in the forefront of people's minds so they remember what it is that their government is all about.
And that's right, because the younger generation now are so connected to social media and what's going on now and in the future. We have to be reminded through authors and their work what happened in the past and how we got to this point.
Yeah, right, and their stories, you know, civilizations are defined by their stories. I say that all the time, and I think that's the importance of having authors on a show, is authors will tell you stories.
Right.
So what's in the future for you?
Well, you know, we're going to keep plugging along with what we do, and I have many authors that have reached out to me. And we're looking to have more roundtable discussions with authors, like you mentioned, marketing, how to promote on the air and off the air, but working with authors in creative ways at different events around Long Island so that they can get their book out, but also provide a live radio show at the same time so that those authors could really benefit from that connection with the community.
Now, if you contacted an author and you were very interested in their book and you wanted to have them on the show, and they said, I don't know really what I would do, what I would say, I'm very nervous, what would you tell them to say about their books?
Well, first of all, they wrote the book for a reason, and with that passion, that creativity has to, you know, kind of get out there. So I would like to meet with that author and talk with them about what their work has been, what they feel is in the book, and how they want to promote that to others and share that journey with other people. So I would kind of empower that person to kind of figure out ways how they can express that, either through radio or different marketing techniques, you know, through social media, but to kind of work with them to feel what their goal is and to support them, because I wasn't always a radio person. I do clinical work. Talking sometimes in a large group is challenging, you know, and it still is. Every show, you got to get it together and get it. So I go through things on every show, so I know authors do. So I share those challenges they have.
Yeah, I think once you ask them what inspired them and what their purpose is in writing, and to tell what the book is about, then you get them talking, and the rest pretty much is easy. In your show, you have maybe 10 or 15 minutes with the author. Here it's a half an hour, so they really get to, we can really get into some depth, but it is utterly amazing to me how quickly that half hour goes. And, you know, we get into talking about all manner of subjects, but, and then at the end I always say, well, what's your best tip for an aspiring author? And I get some pretty interesting answers, but mostly I get perseverance. So what do you think about perseverance in a radio show?
Perseverance in a radio show. Just like anything else, you have to really be dedicated in the work that you do, either a book or a radio show, because you're there not for yourself, you're there for others. And keeping that in mind always inspires me. So when I hear authors speak, and every single author is writing a book to share with others. So we share that bond. So together we work out different ways where we can do that on the air and move further. Okay,
we have just about a minute left. What was the funniest or the worst or the most crazy thing that ever happened on your radio show?
Well, we had someone from American Idol, Adam Ezegalian. He was actually in the top 16, and we actually had an author in studio that day. And he was a great singer. He is a great singer from Wantor, and he started playing the ukulele. And he was just making up words to anything that was in the room. And he was strumming along, and then he was joking around. Everybody was laughing. Our whole staff was chiming in. They were dancing on the air. And to me, that stands out as how one person could bring everybody together. And you have to laugh in this world, right?
Right. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Chapters wrap.
That's right.
Oh. That was fun.
Yeah, it goes fast.